Welcome to another episode. My guest today is Lexi Herrick, founder of Herrick.com, a lifestyle publication by and for women with hundreds of contributors around the world. She is also an SEO expert based in New York City. And if you didn't know what SEO stands for, that's search engine optimization. And when I Googled tips for young professionals, the number one result was Lexi's article on Herrick.com titled 40 Must-Read Tips for Every Young Professional Building a Killer Career. Lexi, I think everyone should read this article. You created it for your sister who was starting her first professional job. Was she overwhelmed by the 40 tips that you gave her?
Well, I have been doing lists for a long time now, for like 7 years, and I've done ones that are over 100. So I think she was actually like happy with it. She's like, okay, 40, I can take that. I can internalize all 40 of these. Although I don't know, if she was here, she might say different. So,
So you mentioned in this terrific article, which we're going to put in the show notes, and I encourage not only young professionals, but seasoned professionals to read, if anything, to better advise young professionals. Some were lessons that you were given, that you read and in books and online, but others included things that you learned from yourself on the job. Was there one or two particular mistakes that you made in your first few weeks or months as a new young professional that you vowed never to make again?
oh yeah, for sure. Well, I would say they were learning experiences for sure. One that comes to mind is I remember when I was starting a new job in New York City, and I had just moved to New York the day before. So I was like energy level 100. You know, people say like 0 to 100. I was just 100 the entire day. And
Right.
I came in to meet one of my new superiors, and I just came in so hot, so strong. I was like, these are all my ideas, here's what I want to do, I'm so excited to work together. And I didn't really give him a chance to kind of kick off with what he was looking for, what his goals were, his concerns. And there was some background information that I hadn't known about, and also obviously didn't know his communication style because we were just meeting. So it actually led to him kind of instantly being dismissive of me. He was like, whoa, this is all I really want. And it was
Take it from a 10 to a 5, right?
oh yeah, for sure. He was like, okay, I already had my hesitations about this girl, and now she came in like this. So immediately set the standard where it was. And we actually eventually, we worked together really, really well. He ended up being one of my mentors, and just somebody that taught me a lot. But what I would say I learned from that experience, and advice I would give to other young professionals, is to kind of, when you're meeting a new superior, a new colleague, particularly if you didn't spend a ton of time with them in the interviewing process, let them lead. Let them set the stage for what their communication style is, ask them what their goals are, and ask them what their concerns are, and ask them what their ideas are. That's not to say that you shouldn't be passionate and enthusiastic about what you want to do, but it is to say, like, you want to let them lead and then adjust and kind of figure out the best way to work together. So that was an example where I was like, I could have done better with that, but lesson learned. So
No, that's terrific, and I think it's one that many people like yourself. Me, I'm a year away from 40, so in my younger years for sure, I would hear this often. It still bugs me. It's I know you're ambitious, but
oh yeah.
right
Well,
and
what?
exactly. So I wanted to get into just a handful of these tips and just ask you to say a bit more. For anyone watching or listening, again, these are not just 40 tips that Lexi listed. She listed them and dove into her personal experience with almost all of them. The one here that I wanted to start off with, which really jumped out at me, all of them, I keep going, yes, of course. But this one here, especially for young people trying to fit in at work, it's not tip number 5, stay out of work drama. Can you say a little more about that?
I can, yeah. So this is a tough one. And you pretty much hit it right in the head there when you say when you're young and you're trying to fit in. And misery loves its company. Like sometimes the way that you bond with your coworkers is like by complaining about stuff. Like that's just the nature of kind of a lot of times what happens. But the problem with that, and to a certain extent, I think that that's okay.
Right.
But then it can get more involved than that. And I'm sure everybody's experienced encounters with that where some people have feuds or there's like nastiness or drama or people say something they shouldn't say at a work happy hour, or there's secrets or gossip. And you know what I have taken to, and I learned this from a really young age, the very beginning of my career, was just stay completely away from all of that. It can be complete like poison to your career. So you can be an incredible professional, but you get involved in something like that and it can ruin your reputation. And reputations mean a lot, as well as trust building and maturity. And especially when you're starting a career and you're one of the youngest people in the room, or you got to recognize that enough to know that like, okay, I have to have a higher standard so that people know that I'm mature and responsible and thoughtful, and that, you know, I'm not going to get dragged into stuff that is just not necessary and kind of counterintuitive to what I'm trying to achieve. And I think secondarily to that is also if you start to almost like have your own work drama, like you have a person that you're working with, and I've encountered this too. I'm a pretty easy person to get along with, but there have still been instances in my professional career where I'm like, you know, me and this person, we don't really mesh well. We kind of like rub the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than like letting that sizzle forever and just like grow in this dark, awful place between you and other people, I think it's really important to start with a professional approach. I think of an example in my mind where like there was an instance of that. And I'm like, okay, let's get some time in the calendar, like a bi-weekly, let's get coffee. Let's just like talk, like let's understand each other and kind of you see where we're coming from. And now we're like incredible colleagues and we work super, super well together. But the problem is sometimes when you're like in the throes of everything, drama starts to spew. And then, you know, you get a bad taste in your mouth about somebody and you never actually work to resolve it. And when you actually face it, talk, figure out where they're coming from, that's a really good way to stay out of drama too, because it means you're working on your relationships and you're handling it.
Oh boy. Yeah. Talk it out. Don't send that nasty email.
Oh yeah, everything. It's like feels like it would be better. It's definitely less scary to send someone a Slack or an email, but it never works as well.
I know.
Like, and of course now we're in the midst of a pandemic, so face-to-face contact is a little bit more difficult than it used to be. But when you're in that environment, even if it feels a little intimidating, it's like, hey, do you want to go grab a drink? Do you want to go grab a coffee? Like, do you want to just like get a meeting room and talk about this? And you'd find that drama, that's just stopping drama right in its tracks. Like before it even becomes a thing, let's just resolve this. And
I need these tips again too, because sometimes I don't practice what I preach, and I like myself a strongly worded email, but you're right. Absolutely. In the end, it's much better to pick up the phone, or even better, go for a coffee when that's eventually commonplace to do so again. Let's go on to another one. So that was stay out of work drama. Tip number 7 in your list is say yes. And that kind of relates to saying yes to almost everything, which can be daunting for some people, wanting to impress, but also not wanting to overwhelm and trying to balance those two concerns. What else have you to say about say yes?
Yeah, so I think you made a good point, which is you can't say yes to everything, and you'll learn that. Again, to your point, I get that you're ambitious, but sometimes one of the setbacks with being particularly ambitious is that you might find like, okay, I just like took on way too much, and I need to scale back and understand, what I can manage and what I can't. I do have that as another number on there too. Funny enough, I have say yes, and I'm pretty sure I also have say no, and I have say I don't know. So yeah. Say all of those things. But what I mean particularly in this circumstance is, so my career started really early. Actually started in marketing when I was 17. I started in SEO when I was 19. I started writing and working with helping to post, contributing to blogs, and working with Herrick when I was 20. So I've been doing it all since I was pretty young. And a lot of the reason for that is when people kind of presented an opportunity to me, even if it was from left field or it was scary, or I was like, am I even remotely qualified to do this? I said yes. And I think that each one of those yeses has sort of led me to the next step, right? It's led me to learn something about myself. It's led me to grow and expand as a professional and as an individual. Because I know that sometimes when those situations arise, we have that tendency to be like, maybe not. Like, I don't know. Am I ready? Like, I'm kind of scared. I don't know if I deserve it. We have a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And to that, I would say, just say yes. But if an opportunity is presented to you and it feels sort of right, you should go for it and take a risk for yourself, because you're the only one that's going to.
So staying with that, do you think that is different from this phrase I've heard before, fake it till you make it?
I think it's different a little bit. Yes and no, right? So fake it till you make it is it's sort of basically when you're in a situation that you're not completely and utterly qualified for, but you still sort of like fudge it a little bit till you are.
Right.
And I think that is the part of this. You try to fake it as little as you can. So do your research, know what you're going into, prepare yourself as much as you can. But to your point, there is going to be a little bit of it that you learn on the spot. You know, you can't always be prepared for everything. I am a prepared nut. I love to be prepared. I love my schedules. I love having my research. I like walking into something being like, I know what's going to go on here. But a lot of times in my life, and often in some of my most transformative professional and personal situations, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
And I figured it out. And then you become more confident the next time that you're going to be able to do that, because you know you can.
Exactly. You said also how to say I don't know. Tip number 19. I love this one. Master the art of intelligently saying, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. And that's a really good one, because that's basically saying to be authentic and to not BS people when you don't know what you're talking about at all. There's been a lot of situations, I worked for an agency for a while. We used to joke about it. And now I do when I work with agencies, we call it the agency answer, where you don't know the answer. So you just kind of do this walk around response that isn't really anything. And then the person's like, what? So, and I've also had people answer because they were trying to, put on a particular impression, and they're just wrong, and they didn't know beforehand. So I think it's something I try to do, and something that I appreciate and respect when other people do it, is when they're like, listen, I think I know what you're asking, but I don't know right now. I'm going to go back. I'm going to talk to my team. I'm going to do a little bit more research, and then I'm going to follow up with you. And it shows that you have integrity and that you are invested in giving an accurate answer, and that you're not going to spread information inaccurately. You're going to try to do your due diligence. And sometimes that goes a further way than you just being putting out some answer that you really don't know, or that really isn't answering at all. It's just being honest and upfront about the fact that we don't always know the answers.
I love it. So summarizing that, don't BS your answer.
Yeah.
And when you promise that you're going to follow up, actually follow up. And that's a great segue to tip number 20, which you elaborate on by simply repeating it, which is take notes. Take notes, take notes, take notes. Lexi, I could not agree more, especially in regard to that last tip, saying that you're going to follow up, telling a client, telling someone in the office you're going to follow up with them, get back to them. One way to help you remember is actually to write down that you made that promise. But also what I found myself repeating often to young people, to students, and what I hear from people in the workplace who have a new employee who is lucky enough to be one of a couple of hundred people who got that job, made it through to the final rounds, beat other people out to finally get this job, oftentimes in a big city, and they're shown the ropes. And they're going, yeah, okay, I get it. Yep. And someone who's training them, someone who might have taken a chance and hiring them, is now second guessing themselves, going, well, you're not writing any of this down. Are you sure you got it? Yeah, I got it. And what happens 5 minutes later? They get an email or a call. Sorry, I forgot. So what, say more. I think I might have covered this tip, but what else do you have to say about the importance of just because you're done school, it doesn't mean you stop taking notes?
Oh, it definitely doesn't. And to your point, that's a big interview thing. Like when I interview people for, and for jobs in New York, when we sit down and I'm telling them information and they don't write it down, it always sticks with me. I'm like, why are they writing it down? Like, and then the ones that are taking really good notes, I'm like, okay, they're invested. So it's almost like even if you don't use the notes, but it's just the act of doing it is like a thoughtfulness that goes a long way for the people that you're with, both in the application process as well as when you're working with them. So yeah,
agree.
It's a huge thing, and everyone has a different style of taking notes too. Like I've got my analog notebook notes, and then I've got note-taking tools that we use where I can tag my colleagues and collaborate. Everybody has a little bit of a different approach, but it's a habit that you really want to start early. So even if you're like, I'm a young professional, I'm entry level, I really don't need to take that many notes. Maybe that's the case, but one day you're going to be bouncing 11 meetings a day, and then you're going to be trying to look back at them and figure out what the heck happened, and your note-taking capabilities are going to be critical then as well. So like you said, it's not just something that you do as a student. Like I know all of our C-suite executives are big note takers because if they weren't, they wouldn't be able to balance all of the information that they have to remember. So it's an important habit to start young.
Love it. Just a few more. Number 22 on your list, and we touched on it at the beginning. Learn and respect the communication styles of different people. What experiences have you had with that, and why is that such an important piece of advice?
Yeah, so actually we did do an example of that from the beginning, from me having a superior that had a little bit of a different communication style than I did. But honestly, it comes down to empathy. Right. And I think that we think of empathy as this soft, gushy, lovey-dovey type of term. And it's a professional term as well, in that the empathy that you have to be able to walk into a room and read, okay, this is what this person is bringing to the table, and this is how they prefer to communicate. They're a little bit more soft-spoken, or this person, I know that they appreciate the detail, but this person, they're way more concerned with big picture stuff. That's going to make or break how you can accomplish something, especially when you're working with leaders, because leaders, they all just have different types. Like I just mentioned, I have some leaders that are give me big picture. I want to know how this connects to strategy, and I don't want all the details. I'm busy. You're going to bore me. This is going to be a waste of my time. Other people are going to be like, hey, I know that I'm a detail-oriented person. I want to know the tactics and the implementation. I want you to explain those to me and be clear and crisp and give me the information that I need to understand how this is going to happen. And then there are other people, from a really soft communication perspective, that have different styles that they like in person versus virtual versus on the phone versus email. Some people love using Slack, and I have some people I hate that. I will not instant message. So it's even that too. So it's not just what do they care about stylistically when you're communicating with them, but how do they want to communicate? And the combination of understanding both of those things is how you work really well with people. And again, that comes back to your empathy, to trying to understand them and understand how your message is going to be best received. Because I think when we think about communication, we're all about, okay, what's my message and how am I going to get out there? But communication is actually the study of how that message is received by others. It's focusing on that instead. Yes.
And just as much as other people, when you're new, are paying attention to you, you as a new professional, a new young person in the workplace, should be paying just as close attention to how other people, as you say, have different styles, don't do or receive information in the same way. And so you have to be active and conscious of that when you're working your way around the office. The last one I want to talk about, number 26 on your list. Oh, I love this one. I'm adding this. Screw passion. Be curious. Be curious. If I followed my passion, I might be sleeping on a couch as a drummer in a garage band, because I sure thought I was going to be touring North America, playing covers of Weezer and Sum 41. But that turned out to be the case. Say more about, please, about being curious in personally, professionally, and how it benefits a young person in their career.
Right. Well, being curious to me is the difference between reading because it was a school assignment and reading because you wanted to, right? Like there's
Mm.
just such a difference in the way that you are able to consume and understand and internalize that information when it's something that you're actively seeking because you want it, because it interests you. It kind of drives up the creative juices in your head, gets it all flowing, gets you really interested.
Mhm.
And again, on the subject of strong and impactful, effective leaders are people that maintain curiosity. Curiosity isn't something that's just isolated to the young. And if you maintain it, it allows you to do your work better and to just be a better person because you're constantly open to like getting more information, allowing that to impact what you do, driving you forward. It's going to fuel things like new ideas. It's going to fuel things like being creative, like troubleshooting and problem solving. It's going to allow you to explore new avenues and look at things in a different light if you're constantly sort of thirsting for information and for knowledge and maintaining curiosity. So I think it's something that's important, both with like what you're reading about and engaging with on a professional basis, but also personally. Like if you're,
Mhm.
just because you write about one thing professionally doesn't mean you can't be interested in something else. Maybe I write about finance, but I'm interested in politics. There's crossover interest there.
Yes.
There's a lot of ways that your curiosities can fuel how your professional life is going as well. So it's a two-way street there, and it's really, really important.
And I think I like that. And I think related to it is this idea of, curiosity can lead to you trying new things and failing at them. I think sometimes parents can make their kids feel a little guilty. For example, oh, when you're 10 years old, I bought you that piano and then you never stuck with it. And well, guess what? I wasn't passionate about it. I was curious. I tried and it didn't work out. Trying something else. And I think it's worthwhile to remember to celebrate and encourage curiosity rather than just stick to what you think you're passionate about at 10 and make sure you're still passionate about it when you're 25. Things are going to change. So
Yep.
since writing this article just under a year ago, I think, have you come up with any additional tips, maybe even in the wake of COVID-19 or from any other conversations you've had or experienced in the workplace?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, what I think that this time of life has taught all of us is the importance of being agile and adaptable, right? And being able to be flexible. And that can be hard sometimes in your professional career, especially if you get into a groove and you're like, I'm doing this is awesome, I'm ready, I'm good to go. And then sometimes life just throws a giant fork in the road. It just, messes up your plan right on the spot. And you've got to be able to say, okay, this isn't how I thought it was going to be, but I'm going to move forward. I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
flexible. I'm going to go on from here in a new direction, and I'm going to do my best. And I think that for some people that can be like losing a job, or it can be getting laid off. It could be getting put into a different role that you weren't expecting. It could be something like a global pandemic where you can't go to the office for 6 months,
Yeah.
and you're in the virtual events, you're in the events business, and now everything has to be virtual. We're dealing with that at my company right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of just, being prepared for what you're not prepared for, just knowing that you can't always plan everything. And, you have to do the best that you can with that.
That's probably the biggest lesson of 2020.
Yeah, it is.
I just want to close by asking you a little more about Herrick and how its readers are benefiting around the world, and if anyone who wanted to get involved as a contributor, if they would be able to do that and how.
Yes, absolutely. So we are open to any number of contributors. We actually just added a couple this week. A couple more folks have joined the team.
Great.
It's completely remote. We're from all over the world. You can join and contribute at whatever pace that you want. So you don't even necessarily, it's not like, oh, you have to do one a week or once a month, whatever you want. Or you could do 5 a month if you want to, or one. It's really up to you. Herrick is, in a lot of ways, it's a platform for being able to express creativity, to talk through what you're experiencing personally and professionally and share that. It is a women's site, but I will say men can join too. We've got some male contributors as well. It's not just for women. That's the primary audience, but we have readership that goes, across all over the world, different genders, different kinds of people from all different walks of life as well. So if you feel you have a story, you want to share it, especially during this time, like we mentioned, I think everybody's just having such a unique experience, and we can all learn from that and share with one another, that I would encourage you to go to hertrack.com. Under the About section, you can see to submit a story, a one-off, or become a writer, and we would love to have you.
That's great. And given your SEO expertise, no doubt these articles will be seen.
Absolutely. You can Google this and it will all come up as well. Or Lexi Herrick, Hertrack, or Write for Hertrack, and you will see the pages because they are SEO optimized.
Very good. So, Lexi, I want to thank you very much for spending time with me and sharing your advice with our audiences. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. I want to wish you a productive week. And remember what Lexi just said, the new lesson: be agile, be adaptable. But check out the rest of her tips in the link that we will post in the show notes. And if you have something that you want to add that we haven't covered here, a tip that maybe isn't in the article or wasn't discussed, please share it in the comments. Lexi, thank you very much. This was awesome.
All right. Thank you for having me.